big one. Welcome back. Now, research by the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, indicates 72% of Ghanaians are asking their members of parliament to introduce policies which will reduce poverty. The findings again show that 28% of Ghanaians want their members of parliament to support them with funds by making cash donations at funerals of their family members.
The research was conducted between 2012 and 2016 in the 10 regions of the country. It showed that 15% of the respondents believe their members of parliament must make laws, while 6% of the view that their members of parliament should play oversight role on the executive. Again, 53% of the respondents said their members of parliament should provide developmental needs of their constituents. The 5-page research findings indicated that only 44% of Ghanaians are interested in issues of national interest, while 8% say they are not interested in national issues. It again highlighted that 51% of respondents say they receive the information from radio news, while 43% say they receive the information from TV news. Executive Director of CDD, Professor Jima Abwedi, charged members of parliament to meet the demands of their constituents.
70% of constituents out there who simply want to see their parliamentarians do a good job of representing the constituency, both at the national level within the legislature.
Majority Chief Whip Mohammed Muntaka is of the view the constituents should desist from excessive demands.
My constituency, those on the voter population, about 130,000. How can I promise all of them that I'll be able to meet their individual needs and they will believe me? They should be able to know that I cannot. But when it comes to the things that affect all of us, yes, because I'm their representative, I need to be able to canvass for it.
Director General of the NDPC, Dr. Nimoy Thompson, called for pragmatic measures to provide jobs aimed at reducing poverty.
We also need to develop what we call the logistics sector, such that when you produce, it costs less or makes it more competitive to move your goods from one area to other. That's distribution and exports and so forth. And so, of course, we need to increase exports if we are to deal with the employment problems.
Director General of the NDPC, Dr. Nimoy Thompson, called for pragmatic measures to provide jobs aimed at reducing poverty.
Right, let's interrogate this a little further. I have on the line Regina Amanfo Tete, who is a Senior Programs Officer at CDD. Good evening, Madam, and thanks very much for joining us.
Good evening, and thanks for having me.
Interesting revelations coming from this research. Now, 15% of the respondents believe MPs must make laws, and 53% think MPs should provide developmental needs of their constituents. Are the constituents wrong in making these demands?
Well, if we want to go by the 1992 Constitution, the mandated responsibilities for members of parliament, then these constituents are really wrong. Because if you look at the constitutions, MPs have been given some specific responsibilities to perform. That is legislation, representation, and then oversight. So if constituents are thinking that their MPs' responsibilities are supposed to provide developmental projects, then they are wrong.
But is it also not the case that these MP aspirants, these MPs, whilst they were aspirants, promised voters they will bring them development, and so, you know, is it not the case that if they make these demands, is actually a reflection of the promises that have been made by the MPs whilst they were campaigning for votes?
And because the MPs were just responding to what they perceive the constituents to have in mind, that is, the constituents expect them to perform these functions. So someone seeking for power will actually respond to that behavior. And that is why it is more important for constitutional bodies assigned to engage in sensitization and education of voters or citizens to really understand and appreciate the responsibilities of members of parliament, to strengthen this work so that voters will really understand. So when a candidate or an aspirant comes to stand before you and tell you that I will bring development, as a voter, you know very well that it is not within his or her space to provide such developmental projects. So you will not believe that person.
Now, let's link this research report to poverty in the areas, in these very constituencies. Do you not feel, perhaps, that the extent of poverty in the various constituencies actually now push the constituents to make these demands? Because if, for example, you want your member of parliament to contribute with funds, cash donations during funerals and things like that, you must be poor to not to be able to take care of your dead.
That one I totally agree with you, that it is due to poverty. That is why constituents or voters are demanding personal benefits from their members of parliament. And this shows that as MPs, they have serious responsibilities to strengthen their oversight responsibility on the executive, to ensure that the executive perform effectively by using resources that the state has judiciously, so that if the right mechanisms are put in place to ensure that voters or citizens are resourceful, then these kind of demands will not come on them.
So is that actually the observation you made in the research, or is just the suggestion that you're cueing from the discussion we've had?
I think that is what are my personal observations from the findings, because when people are poor and they don't have the resources to satisfy their needs, that is where they would turn to other people for personal help. Because it is not within the space of the MP to pay for your hospital bills. If you have your national health insurance, that the health insurance system is working effectively, you don't have any bill to settle, so you will not come back to your MP to come and ask the MP to settle your hospital bill. If capitation grant works effectively, you will not send your child to school and come back to MP to go and settle your child's school fees. If the right things are done by the state or by the executive, then the people will be okay and they will not go back to their MPs to demand these kind of things from them.
Interesting. So let's look at the disbursement of the public, the common funds that are supposed to go. Would you say that the difficulty or the challenges or the promptness, the lack of promptness of disbursing the common fund is also a contributory factor to this trend?
Well, what is the common fund meant to do? As members of parliament, they can engage in a little bit of developmental projects. That is, they can lobby the executives to handle developmental challenges facing their people. And the common fund is meant for MPs to use in some developmental projects. If this fund is delayed, well, that can also account for that. But where I have a challenge or where my difficulty lies is when constituents or voters are demanding personal benefits instead of public good. Because when the MP gets common fund and they use it to build toilets, all the people within the constituency are going to benefit, or within the town are going to benefit. But if you ask an MP to give you resources, money, for your personal use, to attend to your funeral, to give donations, to attend to your wedding.
That's more like overstretching it.
Sorry, come again?
I'm saying that's more like overstretching the issue. Like, I mean, I'm saying that I'm making a point based on what you've just said, that to go ahead to make demands and expect that the MPs make cash donations during funerals, etc., is a bit below the belt. That's what I'm trying to
make. That is it. That is the point. And that is what the research comes out with, that majority of the people actually go to their MPs for their personal benefit.
Right. Madam Regina Amanfo-Tete, we're grateful for your time. Thanks very much. Regina Amanfo-Tete is a programs officer at CDD, and you heard him. He discussed the CDD report, which doesn't make interesting reading, especially from the point of view that we have been always following to see the trends of progress and development in the constituencies. And what we keep hearing from these constituents is their expectations of what they want MPs to do for them or aspiring MPs to do for them. My name is Stephen Enti, and that's it. We wrap for the big one.